morning and welcome to the Dr. Baruch Show. This is like all other shows. This is going to be a show for you to gain knowledge and understanding about health and wellness. And we've got a special guest in our studio via Skype who is going to be talking to us and sharing with us his knowledge and wisdom. We've had some really good shows here of late, and it's always exciting to share as we share as much information as we can, because our goal and objective is for you to get this right. We want you to get this right. We want you to have the empowerment necessary in order to make the right decisions with regard to your health. And this is the vehicle, the forum where we get that done. So again, this is the Dr. Baruch Show here on the Elife Media Network. And we are broadcasting from Capitol Heights, but we're broadcasting to the world. And for those of you in the listening audience who would be so inclined, please do share, post, repost, reshare, connect up with folks, text this information out, let as many people know. We are going to be interviewing a brother, a colleague, one who has been in the field of health and wellness. Like many of us, you can't remember when you started, because you've always been in the field of health and wellness. You've always been working to be healthy and well, and I think that's a reality that we deal with by nature. By nature, we seek to be well. Who wants to be sick? Who wants to find themselves in need of medical care, pharmaceutical drugs? Nobody wants to be in that space. So we're going to go ahead and get things cranked up here, and I am going to introduce to you my guest, who is one who has, for many of you, you know him, you know his wisdom, you know what he has been teaching us for years about what it is that we can do to be empowered. And for some of you, you may not know, and you will be introduced to, but I'm guaranteeing you will be inspired and empowered with this wonderful information. So we are going to jump right in now with the introduction of my brother from another mother, none other than Dr. B. Sirius. Good morning, my brother. Let's turn on. I'm sorry. Let's try that again. We're gonna bring you up. Good morning, my brother. You there?
Hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. I can hear you now, indeed. And you are coming to us live from Atlanta, Georgia, correct? Or somewhere in Georgia?
That's what they call it. That's what they call it.
That's what they call it today, right? For our listening audience, and for those who may not know your background, please bring us up to date. Who is Dr. B. Sirius? Where you from? What put you on this path? What have you done since you've been on this path? All that kind of good stuff, so people realize that you didn't just drop out of the sky yesterday, but you've been out here for a minute.
Well, I'm originally from Connecticut.
Okay.
I hear an echo when I talk, really loud.
Okay, we can address that.
I'm originally from Connecticut, and I moved to Los Angeles in the '70s. To become a famous percussionist. I was taught as a drummer. Hand percussion, conga drums is my specialty. So I learned about the language of instruments and vibrations at a very young age. And so by going to Los Angeles, I wanted to be famous, and found out that they didn't really care about the famous percussionists. So I ended up becoming a music producer. Became a music producer, recording engineer, composer, and I became pretty successful at that, and helped to bring what they call hip hop to Southern California. Did a lot of R&B records, jazz records, and live shows. But as a percussionist, I learned about rhythm and sound and tone and vibration, and that was a very beautiful journey, because everything in the universe is based on rhythm and tone and vibration. And then once you understand those, the way the circadian rhythms, the natural rhythms, the cosmic rhythms work, then everything else just falls in line. But after becoming a very successful producer in music, I then, found out that the lifestyle was not one. What the lifestyle that I was living in the music industry was not one that supported health. I mean, the fast food, the long nights, and the stress and the money, and well, the money wasn't the stress, but it was because the way we had to get the money was stressful because we found that music was being controlled. The whole music industry was basically the hidden hand behind the scenes controlling what the sounds were, what the lyrics were, what the tracks were, the production, the artists. So I had moved from being a really hands-on musician into more or less being a businessman because I was so successful at negotiating deals and signing artists and things. But I realized at some point that it was like taking the sheep to slaughter. The contracts and the way things were written, and basically you're giving up your life, you're giving up your autonomy, you're giving up your life force, for this machine that was about population control, people control. So I actually got sick. I started getting sick. I started getting depressed. I started eating even worse than I was before, and things began to change for me. I realized that I wasn't, as vibrant. And after about 2 years of that, I basically go to the doctor and, they give me the bad news that I'm not going to be around long. Because of the way I was living my life. The way that, I chose my thought process and the stress of the industry. And the funny thing about it is, it was not funny, it's actually sad. A lot of people in the industry who were under that high stress, were sick or getting sick, mentally, physically, spiritually, all of it. Because you have to respect these people who don't respect you and they don't respect life, and that's in the mainstream music industry. So after getting the news that I had maybe a year to live with this condition, which was basically all the cells in my body were fighting each other. My immune system was fighting, around the clock. So it was like an autoimmune system situation, but it was worse than that because I had, full cellular breakdown. And I had to walk away from the industry. I had to walk away from multi-million-dollar deals, and I knew that it was the life, it was the stress, it was that whole style, the standard American diet, and and just the whole, it's really interesting how the environment plays a part on your health and your cells and your genes. And I was in a situation that wasn't about giving life; it was about you're a slave and you do what we say to do, and you eat what we give you. So I basically walked away from the industry and decided that modern medicine couldn't help me because I asked the doctor 3 questions. I said, hey, what do you do for a living? He said, I practice medicine. I said, you practice? I said, I never heard a word like that before. Practice. I never thought about it. You practice. My brother's a mechanic and he better not practice on people's cars. They want them fixed. Then he said, well, we treat the illness. I said, you treat the illness. You give the illness a treat? I need another word. And he said, well, we're in disease maintenance. You maintain disease. Those things hit me like a ton of bricks. So wait a minute. This isn't about me. It's about the business. It's about the disease. It's about promoting fear. So I walked away and I decided I needed to study, alternative medicine. And I began to read everything, go to every lecture, everything I could. Found herbalists. I met people who were nutritionists from all over the world. And all I did was consume myself with searching for natural health techniques, searching for people that had knowledge. And, I started to change. Started to change the way I ate. I stopped eating animals, stopped eating, processed foods, stopped hanging around with people who were into a lifestyle that basically was not about, it wasn't pro-life. So after about 2 years of that, I started making my own formulas because I realized that, it was important for me to be able to get to my own medicine and create my own because I didn't think that the health food stores were going to be around long because in those days, in the early 90s, a lot of people were being shut down, people were being silenced, so after a while I found that I was making my own formulas and was doing pretty good at it. And I started studying a lot of the medicine from the continent of Africa, things from the Caribbean, and putting a lot of things together that, other folks hadn't thought about. Because I was a musician, because I was a drummer, I realized I could hear the sounds of plants. Wow. I could look at the color. I could look at the tone. I could also hear the sound of my body. You know, if you listen carefully, you can hear your body talk to you. You can hear the universe talk to you. So I got into a whole other type of language, and that was the language of plants and the language of nutrition. And after a while, you know, it just kind of snowballed, and it was it's been a very interesting journey. I mean, I'm giving you the short version, but, you know, someday there'll be a book about it all, possibly a movie.
There we go. There we go. And for those of you who don't know, you're listening to Dr. B. Sirius, and he is sharing with us his background, his journey to the point where he realized that, you know, he was maybe even forced to transition from what he was doing to now what he is doing. And I think you probably benefited us on both sides in that, you know, you were probably a phenomenal and probably still are a phenomenal musician. But now, you know, and I'm hearing it in what you're saying, you've taken that energy from the rhythms and the energy from music, and you've tied that into your capability of being able to read the energy from nature and also read that energy in people's states of health, and take that and then create formulas to bridge the gap, to help us get from where we are to where we all want to be. We all want optimal health. You know, you wouldn't think that everybody wants that based on what they're eating, but you know, at the end of the day, when they ask the question, do you want to be healthy? Well, of course, who wouldn't want to be healthy? Well, why are you eating that fried whatever? Oh, because it tastes good, and because it's what I've always eaten. So, Dr. B. Sirius, you've got a track record and a reputation that precedes you. You've been doing a lot of great things in the community, and you know, you talked about these formulas that you've created. Let's go into that. You know, tell us, you know, maybe some of the health challenges that you encountered. You know, not just your own, but even others outside of your health challenge. You know, some of the health challenges you've encountered, and maybe some of the formulations that you've been able to create, or solutions that you've been able to create for people. You know, so that people know that, you know, wherever they are, there's a road map out of there. There's a GPS coordinated map out from up under these health challenges that we've got. Again, we're talking to Dr. B. Sirius, and I asked you a long question. As a matter of fact, before you answer that question, we're actually going to have to take a momentary break, but we're going to come right back. We're talking to Dr. B. Sirius here on the Dr. Baruch Show, here on the Elife Media Network. We're going to take just a moment. We're going to be right back and bring you back up with more of the Dr. Baruch Show here on the Elife Media Network. We'll give you a brief musical interlude, and we're going to be right back.
flat major something.
All right, we're back up. This is the Dr. Baruch Show here on the Elife Media Network. And we are blessed today to have via Skype, I probably shouldn't say, I should just say via the internet. We have Brother Dr. B. Sirius, who's going to talk to us about some of the formulations and some of the solutions that he has for those of us with the health challenges that we do have. So we're gonna jump right back in. Dr. B. Sirius, you there with us?
Here, I'm here. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. I can hear you. And we were talking earlier about the formulations that you had created as a result of, your background, and I can relate to because I'm an engineer. So I'm a communications engineer by training, and then I jumped over into naturopathy. So that I was able to bring all that engineering concept and idea and resolution process and all the rest of that. I was able to bring all that over to this side of the world, which a lot of people couldn't relate to. How do you come up with that idea? Well, because I can relate to how, communication takes place and engineering is. So I can imagine you in the music industry bringing all of that experience, that knowledge, and that understanding, that wisdom that allows you to create a rhythm that puts a whole stadium full of people, in rhythm, and they go into the beat, and I would suspect that there's a level of homeostasis that you can achieve that same outcome when you do the right things with regard to our diet, with regard to nutritional supplementation. So actually, I asked you a question before we went off, and I was talking about the formulations that you have created. Let's go a step back before we get to the formulations. What is wrong with our health? Why are so many of us challenged with every disease in the book?
Well, first of all, it has to do with our choices. A lot of us are still eating a slave diet, an emergency diet. What we had to choose certain things because of what what was put in front of us at a point, and we were able to, of course, season that food or that stuff and make it taste good. And a lot of us are still calling that traditional food. So many of the foods that we chose were basically like the pig and the whatever else they had. What I'm saying, they made it. We had to make it taste good. So we are people who are creatures of habit. And through the habits over many years, we just keep choosing the same thing. Now imagine that there's an emergency that keeps happening in your head. There was an emergency at some point, and you had to do things to survive. Well, people are still doing the things that they had to do to survive during slavery or during times of, when things were hard, when things were tough, you see. So we have gotten into a rhythm that's not our own. It's like we're listening to music that's not our own, see. So the choices of food, the choices of activities, the choices of things to drink are based on emergency. A lot of it for black people is based on post-traumatic slavery syndrome, you see. And we some kind of way have gotten into the glitch of repeating that lifestyle, that way, that rhythm from way back, even though that should be dead and gone. We've moved away from nature. We've moved away from things that make sense, common sense, things that are common to nature, and this is why we have the high blood pressure, the diabetes, population, the cancer, all of these different things. Many of them, not all of them, but many of them are based on the choices that we make, the lifestyle, the chemicals we use in the home, these plug-it-in things that try to make things smell good, and the soaps. I mean, it gets deeper and deeper. And what I realized that when I was working my way into becoming more healthy, I had to look around my house. I had to look at all the things I use to clean the house. And if you read the label, it'll tell you this is not for human consumption. It's not, you can't breathe it. You need like a suit like they had on ET, those space suits,
right?
to even clean your home, because This stuff is getting into your cellular, it's getting into your cellular material. You're breathing it. You breathe through your skin. You know what I'm saying? Everything in the environment is being taken into your body, and your body's like a magnet, and you're holding on to it. And melanin ties into this because melanin, which is the dark matter in our skin, it holds on to vibration. It holds on to light. It holds on to rhythm. You see, its job is to take the sun and the environment and turn it into biochemical electricity and movement and a knowledge that basically is that cosmic knowledge, that old ancient, rhythm of the world. How things work. We're supposed to know. There is a certain natural flow of nature. There's you look at the seasons like today and yesterday. Basically, we're right on the solstice. So things are moving from springtime to summer. Everything in nature recognizes this rhythm. Everything in nature recognizes that you can't eat the same foods because naturally the same foods are not available. There's a difference. There's a magnetic change. There's an electrical change. The sunlight angle changes on these days. So there's the solstice, there's the equinox. These are the days that mark the season change. When we live in the season, when we eat foods that are natural to the area where we grow, when we eat foods that are giving us life rather than taking life, we live a natural, healthy life. But we're caught on the media. We're caught into what they tell us in the commercial, where it's like a trap. It's like the Matrix for real. So we eat food that actually lowers our consciousness. It lowers our ability to really be ourselves. It takes away from our creativity. And then our actions, they proceed because of what we're eating, because you are what you eat, you see. And then comes the parasites, which is my specialty. And that there is basically, there's a lot of see, we have a lot of depression and suppression and stress. Folks will eat based on that. We based on high emotional, states. We're sad. We listen to the news. You hear something happened on the news and you get really upset. See, back in the day, you might not have had the news. You may not have had the internet. You may not have had text and things where you're getting more information in one day than our ancestors received in a lifetime. You see, it's so much information out there, and all we've got to do now is flash things on television, or have a certain group of people eat a certain way, live a certain way, and everybody follows suit. So this is like the herding of animals, a corralling of animals in a farm. Basically it's a farm. It's actually a menagerie, which is deeper than a farm. A menagerie is a place where you have animals or different beings from different lives, and you basically put them together and experiment on them. You see? So we allow ourselves to be part of an experiment. I don't like to say that, somebody's making us do something or somebody's causing something to us. 80% of the time, what's happening is we're doing it to ourselves. So we live in this farm and we're waiting to be fed and we're being told what to do and we just do it. We've got to get out of that. We've got to become individuals. We've got to become, indivisible individuals again and live the highest vibrational life we can live by following the rhythm of the seasons and eating food that doesn't eat us.
That's what's up. And I think we have actually decided that what's most important to us is eating the food that tastes good to us. And unfortunately, if I was a threat, if I wanted to be threatening to people of color, I would make the food that tastes good to us, that's pleasing unto us, that makes us feel good. I would poison that food because you're going to get them every time. I've never been to an event where people of color are present, unless it's one of those real healthy events, one of those raw food type events. I've never been to an event where you go to, the little buffet and they don't have fried chicken wings. Never. And if you can imagine ever going to one of those, you can imagine some upset people. They would be really upset. Man, where is that? I don't want celery. I don't want any, some whatever, I want some fried chicken with some mumbo sauce, and that's how you keep them appeased, unfortunately, because they've developed that appetite for that, which, Again, whether it happened first or whether it happened second, that is whether the food was poisoned first or whether we developed an appetite for it and then, it was poisoned. Whatever the case is, it doesn't really matter, because we look up today and the reality is our food is poisoned and we're getting sick, and we're the sickest creatures on the planet. And it's brothers like Dr. B. Sirius who have shared with us his life work and have made clear to us what it is that we need to do as a people so that we can move ourselves out from this constant state of chronic illness. I mean, everybody's sick. Everybody's got diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, cancer. Cancer's like as common as a cold. Oh yeah, I came down with cancer. What? You just came down with? Yeah, I got stricken. And, my doctor diagnosed me with, I got the CA diagnosis. I'm like, how is it that I grew up as a child and you don't hear about any of this? And in my lifetime, everybody's got it and nobody's saying something's wrong. And nobody's running through the streets with a bullhorn saying, stop doing what you're doing. Because if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to have a problem. We're not getting that information out. And then the strange thing about it is then we create a network so that we can do just that. And people are like, I don't want to hear that because I'd rather just be ignorant. Just let me be blissfully ignorant so that I can keep doing what I'm doing and I'll be all right, because there'll be somebody that comes down from the clouds and makes it all good after I've jacked it up. It doesn't work that way. It obviously doesn't work that way. But we like that story, so we embrace it. So again, we're talking to Brother Dr. B. Sirius, who has a plethora of solutions, but has given us now the reality of why we have found ourselves where we are. We find ourselves where we are not by mistake. This isn't because it just fell out the sky. We find ourselves where we are because this is where we drove the car to. This is where you drove to. You got in the car and decided, I am not concerned about my health. I just want to have a good time. And this is what you get. And now that you got it, now everybody's in awe and like wondering, like, what? Why is everybody? Well, anyway. So again, we're talking to Brother Dr. B. Sirius, and we applaud you and the great work that you've done, and the great work that you are doing for people there in, I guess, not just at Georgia, but doing throughout the world, because I'm sure your information gets out there just as our information gets out there, and you find people in the corners of the world saying, hey, sending you, messages, email or Facebook or text message, and they say, wow, I wanna know what you did to help that guy overcome those challenges. And that's where we want to go with our conversation. What do you do when a person comes to you with high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, cancer? The list goes on. What solutions? Is it a general boilerplate? This is what you do, or is it specified? Is it's something customized for either the health challenge that they have, and or their personal dynamics? Sometimes those things are different. So, Doc, where do you go when somebody comes into your office? What does that process look like when somebody comes to you for a consultation and to get well? How does that look? Talk to us.
Well, my specialty is in mental and physical parasites. So when people come to me, I'm looking to see where they are and where they'd like to go. You'd have to have a goal. You have to be goal-minded. And my questions are basically surrounded around the vibration of whether they are willing to do what must be done to get healthy. Basically, there's only a couple diseases. You know what I'm saying? There's some things that you may have been born with, and then there's other things that you may have done obtained based on your way of living, your way of thinking. So I need to know first from a person when they come to me is, what is their goal? What would they like? If it is a physical issue that they're dealing with, then I'll usually talk to them for a minute and see what their lifestyle is, and just get an idea of how they live, where they live, and I also am reading the energy of people. I'm looking at the micro expressions. I'm looking at the way they walked in, the way their eyes move, certain inflections on certain words. Because see, food has a lot to do with our personality. You see, like you talked about chicken wings. Many people don't know that chickens are man-made. They're not natural. Chickens were made in about 1507 by crossbreeding jungle fowl and what they call vultures. You know, this is by the Chinese in 1507. I get the documentation. You know, we just don't go by what we heard.
Right.
But you know, the vulture had some of the best tasting flesh because it ate everything and anything. So, you know, animals that eat everything and anything, they have a certain sweetness to them, a certain flavor. And the jungle fowl lived in villages in Africa, South America, but you didn't eat it because it tastes too bland, but it didn't run away. It wasn't afraid of humans. So they crossed those two together. So now they got this animal that has the attributes of both a vulture, which eats anything, trash, and an animal that will live around humans. So the chicken is a man-made garbage eater, basically. You see, so this is what we call a traditional food. I mean, I talk to people all the time. They say, Dr. B, I'm eating much more healthy now. The only thing I eat is chicken because you know you feel like chicken is a white meat, and somebody told you that white meat was the best meat because you know this is a race thing too, that white is better than black.
That's right. That's right.
I eat the white meat, Dr. B. All I eat is the breast. You know what I'm saying? And you know, I don't fry it anymore. I braise it. You know what I'm saying? We boil it and we we bake it. You know, I'm like, okay, you're still basically eating something that it has no viable nutrition for you. It's just filler. You see, the same thing with cows. Cows are man-made. A cow is a buffalo and an oxen. They used to call them beefalos. You see, a pig is an African cat, African dog, and an African rat. You see, these foods are created to live on the farm and not run away. You see, they pump these animals up with hormones. You know, these like the cows, they pump them up with what they call recombinant bovine growth hormone, so that they grow really quick. They make lots of milk. You know, they keep the cows in a constant state of pregnancy. How they do that is a mystery. You know, these animals don't even want to live themselves. They're basically very sick, and you're talking about cancer and high blood pressure and diabetes. Well, that's what the animals have. You see, many of the diseases that people are obtaining, they're obtaining on their plate. You see, they're eating in the name of love, but it's actually death. You see, so we have a lot of work to do as far as choosing our food. And I realized early in my research that one of the biggest issues we had was parasites, and nobody was really talking about the parasites. And I ran into people who were putting together black walnut and cloves and wormwood to get rid of some of the parasites, and I began to realize that things like sausage, right? Sausage gets its name because it's sow sage. The sow is the pig, and sage is the herb that they use to try to kill off the parasites that live in pig, in pork, even in ham. In ham, they put cloves in the ham to attempt to kill off the parasite eggs.
You mean the cloves? The cloves wasn't to make it taste good?
Well, you know, it gave it a little spice, but of like a whole lot of our spices, they were to actually help the food. They were actually, supplements, but those cloves in the ham were deep, man, because see, the cloves, it doesn't necessarily kill the worms, it kills the eggs of the worm, you see, because that trickiness.
That's what's up.
One drop of pork juice, it may have 10 million trichinous worms in it. These are tiny little things, or not the worms, but the embryos. You see what I'm saying? And these parasites, they live in your muscles, and they eat you. You know what I'm saying? They eat your best nutrition. You can go have your nice smoothie. Some folks, they do this thing where they eat pork or chicken all week, and on the weekend they go have a smoothie, or in the morning they have a smoothie. So they feel like they're being healthy. They put some spirulina, and some wheatgrass and some, I'm Dr. B, I'm having a nice green smoothie today. What you eating for dinner? Well, for dinner, I'm going to eat something good. It's going to be healthy. I'm going to eat high on the hog, versus low on the hog.
Right.
People cheat. Some people don't think that bacon is from the pork. Dr. B, I don't eat any more pork anymore. I just have a little bacon in the morning. Well, where did bacon come from?
Right.
Well, bacon is from, where's it from? People don't know. And you can't laugh because people don't know. They have no idea. And their subconscious mind doesn't want them to know. and it doesn't want to agree because their subconscious is on automatic, and it says, look, I'm trash, I'm broke, I'm poor, I'm lonely, I'm mad, I'm suppressed, I'm depressed, right? And I'm going to eat stuff that's like that. You see what I'm saying? So, a lot of folks feel like they're healthy. They're eating better, and they may be, you see, but it depends on what level you'd like to go to. You buy a nice car. I see folks buy nice cars now. We can all buy nice cars now. You can go down to the car dealer. You don't even need any credit. You don't need any money at all. You don't even necessarily need a job. You just need a good story. And they're going to give you a car. And you're going to take care of that car. You're putting the best wax on it. You see what I'm saying? You're getting it clean. You got special leather conditioner for the seats. As if you got leather. You see, right, some folks got pleather. You know what I'm saying? So, but we get into taking care of our stuff. We take our clothes to the cleaners. You see what I'm saying? We make sure our shoes are shine. We try to take care of our outer appearance. But the inside of our body is usually in a state. It's like a junkyard. It's trash. You see? So what happens is we get to this place where the toxicity in our body causes our illnesses. I realized early on that parasites were a big part of our health challenge. Huge. You get parasites from the air. You get them from the water. Even in your organic vegetables, there may be parasites. But the worst parasites are in flesh. Like the flesh-eating bacteria. A lot of folks don't even understand that this flesh-eating bacteria will eat you from the inside out. In fact, the first documented case of flesh-eating bacteria was in Philadelphia. A black policeman noticed that he had a pimple on his arm, and it turned black in about an hour. And then his whole hand turned black, and his arm started turning really dark, and the flesh started falling off his arm. They rush him to the hospital, and they can't stop this thing that's eating his body away. Do you know, in 24 hours, the man was eaten down to the bones. It was a skeleton that used to be a man 24 hours later. Please look, do your own research. The flesh-eating bacteria. And this is a big problem because it's in a lot of the animal products that people eat. It's just in a dormant state. And it looks for a weakness before it wakes up. Your immune system, can't handle things at a certain level, or you go through a certain trauma, which a lot of folks are in trauma most of the time. Drama and trauma, they walk, hand in hand. They're cousins. Right. So I realized that parasites was the thing. And I had an experience on a boat in Bermuda, which actually changed my whole life, actually in the Bermuda Triangle. And I was downloaded information about these parasites. There are over 2,000 different types of parasites that can live in human beings. 2,000 different types of parasites. They're in everything. The worst ones, as I said earlier, are in flesh, in animal products. You see? And the parasites themselves may not be as dangerous until their population gets high. If you eat a certain way, you're feeding the parasites. If you eat trash, you're feeding the parasites. High doses of sugar. We, in America are like sugarholics. You see, and that sugar, if you crave a lot of sugar, this is a symptom of parasites. You see? So there are parasites that can cause almost every disease. You see? From the cancers to the diabetes, these all could be, because of the parasite infestation in our bodies. You see? So I specialize in dealing with those parasites, and we're not just using the cloves, the wormwood, and the black walnut, but that may be okay. The worms, the worms in the digestive tract, they respond well to the black walnut, the cloves, and the wormwood. But I realize there are systemic parasites. There are parasites that are genetic mutations. There are parasites that were created for weaponized bugs, and these parasites have been used in warfare, and they're in the environment. So there's so many different types of parasites that eat you. The definition of a parasite is something that eats you, lives in you, on you, and they use you as a host. And for many of us, we feed them. Some of the parasites here Like one in particular is Helicobacter. What they call it H. pylori. Helicobacter pylori. A lot of folks don't realize that this parasite that is prevalent in the black community is an alien. You know, you want to talk about aliens and ships and all that. Some of the parasites that are here are not from the earth. That's why they put the astronauts in quarantine. Astronauts are in quarantine for some time, 10 days, 2 weeks. Why would they be in quarantine unless there's something living in space? There's life everywhere. And if you are not at your highest vibration, if your immune system isn't able to respond quickly because of what you've eaten and your activities, then these parasites, they live in you, they use you, and some of them even control your thought process. Some of the foods you're choosing, some of the friends you're choosing, some of the conversations you're choosing are based on parasites controlling your mind. You study biochemistry, you know what I'm saying, and especially organic biochemistry, things like that. And you begin to realize that there's these life forms that will take over. They literally control you. See, so when we do a seasonal detoxification program, these things can't live as long. They can't make it as well. You have to destroy the rhythm of their life, because parasites live based on the rhythm of the moon. They call them circadian rhythms. They eat, they drink, they mate all within this 28-day period, and they also live based on the season. So like I say, today we're moving into summer. So the parasites from the spring are dying off. So I began to study different herbs from around the world that help to reduce the parasite population. And I came up with a product called the Total Body Paracleanse Program, which since 1996 has been, it's around the world. People love this product because it's not just dealing with the intestinal parasites, it's dealing with the systemic parasites. They live in the eyes, in the heart. There's the dog heartworm, people that have animals around the house. You're receiving parasites from those animals that you have around the house, you see. So there are many, many, many different types that I specialize in. And, now for at least 24 years, I've been looking at that. And not only the physical parasites, but the mental ones, which we'll get in a little bit later.
That's what's up. And I think as we continue to engage this conversation, there's so many things that are registering with what you're saying. It's like, whoa, I never even thought about that. And that's what we like to bring to the attention of our viewers, is that which they didn't even think about. There's so much information out there. We put them into 3 categories. There's what you know. There's what you don't know, like how to fly an airplane. And then there's what you don't know, which is you don't know, right? So, and you're sharing with us that information because we didn't know that we didn't know this. But now all of a sudden, you and the viewing and listening audience need to take this more seriously, and you all need to do your research. You all need to get in contact with, our brother. We need to get, see what we can do about bringing Dr. B. Sirius up here, to do a one-on-one or do a lecture with, those of us here in the D.C. metropolitan area. Because if we continue on the path just believing that not knowing is going to preserve us, it's going to protect us. Well, I didn't know, so I'm now protected. There's a whole lot of dead people who didn't know, who didn't get any protection. We really need to start reconsidering some of these strategies of success that have been failing us ever since, that we keep, attaching ourselves to, thinking that, it makes sense. Well, it only makes sense because it means that you don't have to do any work. And you don't want to do any work. You don't want to do the work. You don't want to have to accept the reality that somebody is really, putting bad for you food in your community on purpose. It's not by mistake that you look up and you can eat at every bad food restaurant in the world right there in your community. And then you go to other communities and you can't find one. So it's again, we're grateful and we're thankful for the information that Dr. B. Sirius is sharing with us. And you were talking about some other parasites. And you shared with us again earlier that's kind of your area of focus, parasites and the rhythms of parasites. And, it just opens up my mind, and I'm sure many others, that they do have a life cycle. But they're about the perpetuation of their kind. So within their life cycle, they're looking to replicate so that they can create more of their kind and leave enough food for them to eat so that they can, live out and make it to the end, whatever the end is, right? So tell us about some of these other parasites, and maybe even some of the strategies that you would suggest that people implement. if even if that strategy is pick up the phone, call you, or get product off of your website, let us know what it is that we would do. And because I know that there are parasites in my body. We all know that they're parasites. Well, some of us don't, but we can imagine that they're parasites living inside of us, living on us even. Then what can we do in order to protect ourselves? Let's get rid of the bad parasites or the bad bacteria, and the ones that we're going to let ride and go for this ride with us, they won't kill us on the way. Maybe tell us some of the things that we can do in order to achieve that, and not be burdened with the illness that comes from having these hosts, or being the hosts to these awful creatures that are on our body. And before you jump into that, there's for those of us in the listening and viewing audience, this is Dr. B. Sirius out of Atlanta, Georgia, and we're on the Dr. Baruch show here in Capitol Heights, Maryland, and this is on the Elife Media Network. And for those of you who'd like to dial in and be a part of our conversation, you can do so at 240-455-5934. Again, 240-455-5934. Dr. B. Sirius, we're going back to you. What you got for us?
Well, I'd like to get into some of the parasites, just to give you a little bit of a basic, viewpoint. There are, like I said, over 2,000 different parasites. One of them is a parasite that lives in beings who love sugar. It's a parasite called asparagus. Asparagus loves sugar, and it will make you crave sugar. We find that people who are on cocaine also have this parasite called asparagus. Cocaine and sugar are basically 1 or 2 molecules apart. A lot of folks don't realize that. Sugar itself today, the way we eat it, is not even a natural plant. It's a hybrid. You see, it was created, and I'm not saying that all hybrids are bad. I've been hearing that lately. Well, all hybrids, well, not necessarily. There are some, like the cruciferous group, which is like your broccolis and your cauliflowers and things like that. They actually are medicine if you eat them in the right amounts, the right way. And this particular asparagus is huge because it makes you crave sugar. You see? And a lot of folks, they get off all the meat, they get off all the dairy, they get off all the animals, and now they just crave sugar. That is asparagus. Another parasite that's not really a parasite, it's not even really a yeast or candidiasis is a whole nother creature. It doesn't really have RNA and DNA and, but it's a very sentient being, and it grows and it creates a swamp in the body. So if you've got asparagus and you've got yeast, you've got a swamp in the body. There's whipworms. Whipworms, they have a very long, sharp tail. And what they do is they whip and they slice an opening in your digestive tract. And they drink the fluids, the fluids in the blood from your digestive tract. Another one is hookworm. Hookworm is the original vampire. That's the original Dracula. In fact, if you see pictures of hookworms, you'll see they look like Dracula. They live in the digestive tract, and one hookworm might drink 1 or 2 cc's of blood a day. You never have just one. You got, if you've got one, it's like they say you got roaches. You see one, there's a whole lot of them in the wall. If you got one hookworm, you've got a lot of them. So you have a lot of, people that have anemia. They don't have enough blood. You see, because they've got this parasite drinking their blood constantly.
Little vampire parasites, huh?
Well, yeah, this is what they do. Yeah. They live. Mm-hmm. You see, there is the flukeworm. Flukeworm is really interested. It's a flatworm. They used to live in the bellies of of cows and sheep. When you get the flukeworm, it moves. It has a chemical or an energetic affinity for the thymus gland. The thymus gland makes T cells. T cells are your master immune system cells. The T cells are like the commanders of the army. They tell the troops, which is your immune system, where to attack and what not to attack. The thymus gland is extremely important for keeping you safe. That's like the military. That's the generals of the military. The thymus gland, and it makes what they call T cells. So you hear a lot of these diseases and say, well, we gave him a test and he has a low T cell count. Well, if you've been having sex, they're probably gonna say that that's AIDS or HIV, which is that's a whole other subject right there. Or if you haven't had sex, they're gonna say, well, it's probably your liver. You might have one of the hepatitis. It's a T cell count. This is what they're checking for, T cells. If you don't have enough T cells, then your immune system may not be working quick enough, fast enough, or know what to attack. The fluke worm, like I said, when you ingest animals that have the fluke worm, they have an affinity for the thymus gland. If you have fluke worms living in your thymus gland, then your immune system has been affected and it is compromised greatly. If you've got this particular parasite, and you go to the doctor, they may say, well, you've got AIDS. AIDS is basically animals in the digestive system to me. Animals in the digestive system. Because you've got the parasites which are affecting your thymus, and your thymus is not working correctly, so your immune system is not working correctly. So what? You're sick. You can't fight anything off. They got a name for it. But I actually don't have a name for it because once they find this actual thing, because I was talking to some doctors. So I used to teach at UCLA. I used to teach a course on music, vibration, and engineering. And I'm hanging out in the lab one day, and I asked them, can I see some of the slides of some of the diseases? And of course, they recognized me as Dr. B, the music master and the master herbalist, because by this time I was pretty known in the Los Angeles area. And I said, hey, I want to see like herpes. They showed me the herpes virus, and they're going through different things, syphilis. I said, well, where's the AIDS virus?
Uh-oh.
They said, huh? What do you mean? Can I see that?
That's a problem.
They said, well, no, we don't really have a specimen of that. You don't have a specimen. Well, actually, they get that talk. Well, see, what it is, this family, what they did was they found something that it can be detected, but it can't be seen and it can't be noticed because we might not know. I said, whoa. What do you mean you might not know? Have you seen the thing? Well, no, once we see it, we can name it. Because it's what? It's letters, what? What does the AIDS stand for? Just say it out. Dr. Baruch, what's the letter stand for?
The immune, wait a minute.
Acquired.
There you go. Immune deficiency syndrome.
It's acquired. See, those of us in natural health, we don't even understand most of this because it don't make any sense.
Right.
An acquired immune. Immune means you're immune to something, you can't get it.
Right.
If I'm immune to something, I can't get it. I've acquired an immunity. Okay, that's cool. I'm with that. An immune what? Deficiency. What are you talking about? It's a deficiency. I've acquired something that I'm immune to, and I'm deficient in what? You're deficient because you're eating food that's eating you, and you're not getting much from it. It's a syndrome. People say, well, Dr. B, what are people dying? People are dying from the ways of life that we live and the drugs that we take. You see, it's amazing. And I was looking at cancer, and I went over to the Cancer Centers of America and did a little research over there, and I was like, well, what is this chemotherapy? Come to find out that this is mustard gas. I'm like, no, wait, whoa. It's mustard gas. Do your own research. They say that they took the mustard gas, and most of that stuff going on in Germany and Auschwitz and all that was these people studying different ways to control population, to kill people with gases and chemicals and poisons, to control people.
Wow.
Now you get sick and you go say, well, what we're going to give you is a little chemotherapy. Look at the byproduct of it. Look at the side effect. They call it side effects. I like to say the other effect. It's nothing. It's not less than. And I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying that you need to do your own research. You see, you got bugs eating you. You see, bugs are eating us from the inside out. Parasites, creatures. Some of them are very intelligent. The parasites on the planet today are 2.5 billion year old. They're very sentient, some of them. That means they think. They have more knowledge than you. They don't talk. They don't hang out. They don't play cards. They don't sit up on Facebook. These things are about survival. That is their job. And some of the stuff that you give them, somebody told me one day they take golden seal to kill their parasites. I said, look, let me tell you something. I'm a scientist. Golden seal, which itself is a hybrid, since we're talking about hybrids, which is the Oregon grape. It's the Oregon grape group in the barberry. These are two plants they put together, okay, to make it grow faster, to make it grow easier, to make it have a longer growth season. They play with things, you know, and you're giving the parasites golden seal because you think it kills things. Golden seal may kill some bacteria. It is actually good if you know when to use it, how to use it, and why to use it. But what you're doing is you're killing the weak parasites and making the strong ones stronger. Just like these antibacterial soaps, they do the same thing. They kill the weak bacteria and make the strong ones stronger. These superbugs, let me tell you something. You got to understand that these superbugs have mutated. They've changed over time. They're very strong, very smart, very intelligent. So, Dr. Baruch, what I did was, I said, let me come up with a formula, a process, a program. And I figured out, after a little while, you can't have a formula for parasites. You need a whole program. Because once you start killing them off, their dead tissue puts ammonia gas in your body, so you got to deal with the ammonia gas. Well, what pulls ammonia gas off the blood? You see what I'm saying?
Right. Before you go into that, Dr. B. Sirius, we're going to take a momentary brief break. Again, we're talking to and listening to, being taught by Dr. B. Sirius, and we're here on the Elife Media Network, and we're going to be right back with more of this great programming in just a moment. Again, this is the Elife Media Network. This is the Dr. Baruch Show. We're talking and listening to Dr. B. Sirius. You all stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, we're back on the Dr. Baruch Show here on the Elife Media Network. And for those of you in the viewing audience, you all have been blessed with hearing some information that you probably didn't expect to hear today, but you got it anyway, and you need to use it. And there's a reason why you got it, is because it's the time in your life that you need to have access to this kind of information to expose your mind, to expose your body, to expose this wellness journey that you're on. You need to be exposed to this information. That's why you're getting it. And now as you get it, you need to put it to work for you so that it doesn't work against you, because the cells of your body are feeling the energy that's being brought over the wire via radio or television, over the internet, and they're recognizing that, oh, the solution is coming. The solution is here. All they have to do is implement it. You got the choice. You can implement it, or you can let it lay dormant and let that which could be benefiting you not benefit you, which of course tends to work against us. So again, we're on with brother Dr. B. Sirius, and we are going to continue on with our conversation with him. And I guess, now we kind of get a better idea, Dr. B. Sirius, about what it is that is plaguing us that we had no clue of. Who would have thought that you got parasites? Back in the day, you used to check yourself for parasites, and my grandmother was a roots doctor and a healer and just a regular old Native American, right? And you would put the tape across your behind at night, and in the morning check the tape, and if you had something living on the tape, you knew that you had parasites that came out of you during the night, and then what was the other strategy? Oh, the other one was you would take the warm milk. So you'd take the warm milk and you would open your mouth over top of the warm milk, and because it was so desirous to the parasite, they would just come up out your throat and want to jump down in the milk. Nobody liked that strategy for getting rid of parasites, but neither one of those were necessarily preferred. Give me something to take. Give me a pill. Let somebody cut me or something. But those are some of the things that I can recall back in the day, talking about back in the day, that we would do in order to get rid, or find out whether we had parasites. I don't think that's how we got rid of them. That's what Granny would do to make us know whether we even had the parasites. But now we know we got them, and you got the solution. You the man. You got the cure. You got the recovery. We'll strike that word. No cure. You got the recovery path to getting our bodies free of these awful parasites. How does that work? Talk to us.
Well, I've developed what's called the Total Body Paracleanse Program, which is 7 different products in one package that works on reducing the parasites, eradicating parasites, and over a 28-day period. There are herbs in there that help to cleanse the blood, the liver, the kidneys, the spleen. For the male program, there's something called Timeless Man, which the brothers really like, because that helps to work on their male virility. It helps them, handle, the business of manhood. And in the female program, there's something called Sacred Womb, which helps to nurture the female reproductive system also. So when we work on parasites, we've got to work on all the body systems and help to rejuvenate all of them. We just can't kill the parasites, because they're connected to our life force, everything that we do. So this program has 7 different products in it. It's called the Total Body Paracleanse Program. You can find it at my website, which is elevationtime.com, elevationtime.com. There's even some specials up there right now, what we call the radio special. And when you start using these products, you'll find that your energy changes, your life force changes, your focus changes. Many of the illnesses that people have, once they do anywhere from a 28-day to a 3-month cleansing program, they find that the illness is gone. Because a lot of times your illness is just toxicity. It's old stuff, in your body. I do consultations. Folks call me. I do phone consultations. I do consultations at my office here in Atlanta. And my phone number, by the way, is 323-931-1212. That's 323-931-1212. And the website is elevationtime.com. Elevationtime.com. I've got music up there because I do create music now. I create healing and meditation music, which I call medicine music. So we have several projects coming out. One of them is a jazz album that's tuned to these sacred frequencies, featuring George Duke and a whole lot of other people like Roy Ayers that I've worked with over the years. But it's all healing music, but we call it jazz, but it's tuned to these special sacred frequencies. So we're doing a lot of that work also. Also, for the mental parasites, a lot of folks have what's called mental parasites. Old ideas, experiences, and things that keep playing in their head over and over that create a blockage towards success. We've helped 11 people now become multimillionaires using our subconscious alignment programming, reprogramming, repatterning, the software of your mind. I do consultations with that. I help people with healing the mental aspects of their life also. Lectures, workshops. In fact, it's time for me to come to the DC area because, interesting enough, Dr. B. Then they call you Dr. B too, I understand.
Yes, sir.
We're both Dr. B. They used to confuse us for a long time,
Yes, indeed. Yep.
But
I got all those accolades and benefits from.
But my largest audience, my largest client base is in the DC area, and I've never done a lecture or workshop in that area. It's amazing.
Man, we got to fix that. But we're gonna fix that this summer.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
And I'm a doctor of metaphysics. I'm what they call an ontologist, which has a lot to do with creating the highest vibrational life force possible living in the cosmos. That's called ontology. So that's my doctorate. And I'm a master herbalist. I do many techniques that help people heal. Dealing with mental, physical, and spiritual parasites. That's my specialty. And if you go to my website, join up on my email list. You'll get a newsletter. We send those out every once in a while, letting you know where I'm going to be, what we're doing. Also, I'm on Facebook. Facebook is at Doctah, DOCTAHB. That's doctor. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not a medical nurse. I deal with natural medicine, the natural way. I am what they call a medicine man. So for those of you who are ready, willing, and able to elevate your life, go to elevationtime.com, elevationtime.com. And, it's about finding balance. It's about finding homeostasis. It's about putting what you need in your body and moving yourself away from the things that are habit forming, that are creating disease. Many of the diseases that we have are based on our lifestyle, our thought process, and parasites. And we now have a way to eradicate those and change those and, to transmute ourselves, to change ourselves and do the alchemy of living. There is a certain pattern to becoming successful. There's a certain rhythm. There's a certain flow. And once you get into that flow, those flow states, you will become successful. Whether it's on the health side, financially, your love life, success is at hand. But you've got to follow a mathematical structure, which we here at Elevation help people do. So it's been wonderful being on the show, and I'm glad to finally talk to you, Dr. Baruch. And I know a lot of folks have been trying to hook us up for years, and it's time. And I'm glad we're doing this now because the information is there. We can use this internet to change our lives, to save our lives, and to help inspire others to do the same.
That's what's up.
So thank you very much.
You are listening to and looking at Dr. B. Sirius. And Dr. B, we're not going to let another year go by. Again, we're looking at this summer fall time frame, bringing you up so that you can we can all meet you in person. And, again, connect up with this great healing source, this great information source that can teach us about not only parasites, but also just wellness across the board and understanding why it is we find ourselves so challenged. So I want to thank you for coming on board with us again here on the Dr. Baruch Show, here on the Elife Media Network. We're going to be back with more great programming in just a minute. You all stay tuned for the Dr. Baruch Show here on the Elife Media Network.
Thank you.